Is there a difference between subcutaneous versus intramuscular testosterone injections? We get that a lot as well. Some people are confused with like where you can inject, if you do belly fat, arm, shoulder, thigh, quad. Like, tell me about that.
Exactly. So we have guys that inject in both manners. We don't see a difference in terms of the levels that they have or the way that they metabolize the testosterone. So what it comes down to is we have a slight preference to intramuscular because we've been doing it for a while and we have really great experience. We do have some clients that are super focused on microdosing. And in those cases, they want to inject. We have a handful of guys that, believe it or not, inject every day. And for those guys, the concern is, let's say you were injecting into one body part 7 days a week times 52 weeks, you'd basically be injecting into your delt or a quad 365 times a year times X number of years that you inject for testosterone. And so at some point, you could potentially have some damage in those body parts. So those are for the more frequent injectors. In those cases, and I believe Dr. Chrysler, you didn't get to see him, but he was a presenter at a couple of different conferences that I went to. He used to be a big fan of injecting into his back fat. So we do have some guys, but in general, most of our guys successfully inject with a half-inch needle, either into their delts or into their quads. And we find that those provide really good results, and they're really easy. A 29 gauge needle, half-inch long, and I've injected that into my thigh and in my delt, and I also tried to inject that into my fat. And for me, it was less comfortable injecting it into my subcutaneous fat, but we do have some guys that do that. And then
Is that because the testosterone is more oil based?
yeah, it's well, for me, I'm not sure why it was more painful. To be honest with you, I don't know, but it just injected. It just was a little bit awkward, a little bit more painful when I injected into my belly fat because it's a little bit. As opposed to HCG, you use a 31 gauge needle, but for the testosterone, it's a little bit longer. And so personally, it was a little bit more painful. And I don't have much pain when I do it, like I said, into my delt or into my quad. Most guys are the same. We have some guys that inject with a little bigger needle into their glutes. So that's another area that they can inject. And then we did research whether it's better or more beneficial from a metabolization standpoint injecting into sub-Q fat versus muscle, and we couldn't find any data to support that one was superior to the other. And so, and based on the lab work that we have for the guys that do it both ways, we find that they both metabolize it sort of equally well. And then most people, the other negative I would say of the subcutaneous injections is that some guys can have little nodules that form. We're not exactly sure why, but when you're injecting, fat into fat, it might be causing some type of nodule sort of like buildup. And then they're using a smaller gauge needle, so it takes a little bit longer to inject. I think that would be the downside of doing the sub-Q. So I would say that the majority, probably 95% of our clients inject intramuscular, and probably about 5%, maybe a little bit less than that, inject sub-Q. But we find that both methods are pretty good. Obviously, if you're injecting a larger dose, volume-wise, it's better to do also intramuscular because sometimes if you're doing that sub-Q, you'd be pushing a lot of fluid into your fat, which could cause some people to have some sensitivity issues.
Interesting. Thank you for that. And that's all the questions I had for today.
Awesome. If you guys liked the video, do us a favor, smash the like button, follow us on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, subscribe to our channel, share this, hit the like button, ask us questions, and we will catch you at the next episode.